Yo, what's up, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, baby. So, what I'm gonna be doing is showcasing Dragunities for you guys today. And today. Oh, snap, I caught myself. Today, you guys. So, I'm showcasing Dragunities, of course. And I've been tweaking the deck a lot, practicing with it a lot, throwing tech cards in, testing them, and then succeeding or failing, and then taking the ones out that I fail with, and ultimately just trying to figure out like a recipe, like a recipe that does more than just the double crystalling. The double crystalling is nasty, it is. It, don't get me wrong. Two negates is cute, but like they're specific to monster effects only. And I don't really like that. That's not really good against Sky Strikers. It's not all that against Gokis considering they chain block. And all in all, I just felt like I wanted to be able to do more than just that. But at the same time, I felt, well, if I'm going to be able to only do that, I want to be able to do it all the time. Meaning what? Consistently. I want to consistently make that double negation board with the Skull Dreads. So in order to do that, I had to just take cards out, put cards in, sacrifice what I want for what I need. And this is the end result of all that practice and all that testing. All right, so this is the way that I play Dragunities. So I play them very different from just a lot of people. In fact, I don't think anybody really plays them the way that I play them. I change it up a lot, but this is my list, you guys. It's very successful. Through strenuous playtesting, this has yielded the most successful results. So I highly recommend that you use this build as a blueprint for your build if you are planning on playing Dragunities. So let's start with it. So we are playing triple Mistletoe. Mistletoe is one of the, if not the best play starters of the deck, next to your Ducks, which Ducks and Mistletoe go hand in hand together. They kind of just, both of them work better if you have the other one. So they're like brothers, like it's a really, really strong combo. The 3-card combo with Ravine, just Ravine, Phalanx, and Mistletoe. That's just a really, really strong combo in general. And, just having these 2 cards together, you're able to do a lot. This deck has a lot of extenders, and it has the ability to search its extenders as well and summon monsters that continue your plays as well. So you do a lot of overdoing it, and I like that about this deck. So, you have triple Ducks, the best normal summon of the deck. Next to that, we have double Sonatus. Sonatus is the second best normal summon of the deck. Really, the only things you want to normal summon are guys like these. Other times, you're going to be normaling your Koos and your Phalanx, because you want to get your Mistletoe off for your worst case scenario kind of hand. But oftentimes, these are your normal summons. You can search them out. And then sometimes you want to resolve them more than once, because if you actually read Ducks, like when this card's normal summon, his effect, it's not once per turn. So you want to normal summon them again. And there's an engine that I play, and it's not Brilliant Fusion, that is going to help me to do multiple things. And again, that goes in tandem with what I was saying. I've been tweaking the deck, playing text the way that I feel the deck needs to be played. But Sonatus is kind of like a 2-card combo by himself. He's really strong. He has protection, but I find that Ducks is just way better than him. So I would debate it on playing 3 Sonatus, but ultimately it came to the conclusion that I actually don't really need the third, and I haven't had any issues with not opening up with my combo. Even awkward hands lead into the combo unintentionally just when you play the hand out. And then, you have your Dragons. You have your triple Phalanx. Phalanx is infamous. He's powerful. He makes this deck really, really good. Without Phalanx, this deck would not be good. And, the deck got better because of Koos. So now you can say the deck got more consistent because it's able to do the same exact thing more frequently, which is really good. So Koos, the restriction of Koos doesn't hurt all the time, because half the time when you're going into your combo, you're summoning dragons anyway. So it doesn't really matter. A lot of your Dragunity synchros are dragons. Ashelon's dragon, Varsha's dragon, Varshiana's dragon, Gay Dirge's dragons. All your summoning really is dragons, unless you're going into like an Omega play, which is your worst case scenario, unless you want to do Omega Crystal Wing, which is an option. But yeah, Koos is pretty powerful, as well as Phalanx. They're both kind of one and the same. This one having no restriction, this one having a restriction, and being able to boost itself to level 4 allows you to go into your Ashelon, which is really, really important because Ashelon is a game finisher. So yeah, that's it for your base Dragunity engine. In fact, these are the only Dragunity monsters that I play. I find that this is all you need. I have in the past actually tweaked with Legionnaire and Achilles. I love these cards as one-ofs. They help your going second game a lot. But I actually took them out for more hand traps, which I felt, the same scenario, hand traps help your going second game a lot too, but hand traps can be applied in a different manner, being that they're turn 0 plays. You can use them before you even get to draw your 6th card to stop your opponent, whereas these have to be used on your turn, and you have to commit resources to them. So these two just became 2 other hand traps, just to make the deck more competitive, so that it can actually do something, And that's it for your Dragunity monsters. Now for the engine that I mentioned, it's not Brain Fusion. I play the Symphonic engine. I think that the Symphonic engine requires less bricks because, the Brain engine, in order to play it, I would have to play a light monster as a target and a Garnet, which means I'm playing 2 bricks. If I draw either one of them, it's kind of dead. And I like this because it extends my plays, being that I can pitch my Phalanx or my Koos to the grave and then special this guy and get my extra normal summon, and also put a card that belongs and needs to be in the grave in the first place. Koos and Phalanx's effects are best when they're in the grave because you summon a card like your Ducks and get those cards equipped from your grave to him and then special summon them onto your field. So this is a combo extender, you guys. This is a combo extender in its core. It does 2 things. Like I said, it gets your cards where they need to be. It gets you that extra normal summon so that if your opponent Veilers or Impermanences your Duck, like if your opponent Veilers or Impermanences your Ducks or Ogres it, like, bro, you guys have no idea that, like, that ends the combos half the time. It really does. And through playtesting, that's what kept happening to me, and I hated it. Like, I hated it so much. I was like, I have another Ducks. I have another way to do the combo, but I only have 1 normal summon for turn. And I was like, what is a way that we can do this 3 stacks without losing to a hand trap and without playing a bricky engine that doesn't really work with the deck anyways? And I thought to myself, nobody plays Symphonic Dragunities. Nobody does. And guess what? This is perfect. This fixes so many problems of the deck. Veiler, Impermanence, and Ghost Ogre kill your combo. At any given time, they kill your Ducks. Because if Ducks dies from Ghost Ogre, you can't equip to him. If his effect gets negated, you can't use his effect. And having the additional normal summon to summon either a Sonatus or a Ducks is really, really good. So it's an extender. It plays around hand traps. It can build your board to be better. This can easily get you into your Skull Dread. And also, it puts another wind monster on the field so you can go into your Great Fly and then your Griffin combo, which is really good. Great Fly, Griffin, plus the Omega, which is really strong. Or you can still go into the Crystal Wing if you want to just negate the normal summon monsters, because, Griffin only stops special. So, yeah, this engine is incredible. Symphonics, long story short, is just a broken engine. It's really, really strong. Yeah, I like this a lot. So these are all extenders. So what I wanted to divide my monsters into were Dragunity monsters, and then extenders, and then hand traps. So I showed you guys my Dragunities. Now I'm going to show you all my extenders. I have a lot, you guys. So Double Garuda, the Wind Spirit, this is another extender. It really helps you out a lot. It helps so much. You guys have no idea how incredible this card is for this deck. You have to play it. You can't not play it. You have to play it. The same with your Mist Valley Baby Rock. This is not only an extender, but it's a focal, pivotal part of one of your combos that if you don't have this card, the combo's either impossible or just too hard. And most of the time it's impossible. You have to play Baby Rock. But he's also an incredible extender as well, because even if you draw him, you can still combo off with him. He's just a really, really solid card. Dank Metal Dragon being the absolute best extender in my personal opinion, because one of your combos, one of the 3-card combos, Infamous, that made this deck really powerful, revolves around him, and without it, it's not possible. And then we have Blackwing Steam the Cloak, another great combo extender. You need to get the extra fodder on field. You need the extra monsters because you're trying to make big, beefy boards turn 1. Another great extender is Zephyros. So you have your Blackwing, your little 2-card package. Zephyros is amazing. You use Zephyros, bounce your Darkness Metal. Zephyros, if you read him, he actually just bounces any face-up card, and then you take the 400. So you bounce your Darkness Metal, and then you end up resummoning it. These are all, like I said, it's not even misusing the term extender. These are all really extenders. Like, there's a lot of them. So you got your Black Wings, you got your Darkness Metal, you got Takam Tombor. This is another one of my spicy techs. I know nobody plays this card, but I have a very good reason for playing it. It is potentially just a free summon. Also, its level being 3 helps out when you're synchro climbing into certain monsters. This is one of the main reasons why I had actually strongly considered for a while playing Black Rose Synchro Dragon, because of his level. But yeah, Takum Tom board is really good because you're trying to make Scoldred, you're trying to make Big Links, you're trying to make Griffin, you're trying to make, your Fly. You just really need to get free monsters, free summons that aren't normal summons because you have one or two normal summons. Everything else after that has to be summoned through some other means. So yeah, these are all the extenders of the deck. You have 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And when you get into the spells, there's more. But this deck, nearly 1/4 of it. No, I'm sorry, 1/3 of the deck is just all extenders. And I like that a lot. Because if your combo gets interrupted, you can keep going. That is what extenders are really good for. They help you to play through interruptions and keep pushing. Or if there's no interference, then they're just going to make your board impressive. Very impressive. For the hand traps, we decided to do a pair of Ash and a pair of Joel. These play around magical midfield breaker. And in addition to that, these are just highly applicable for a lot of the decks in the meta. They're kind of like I can't say generic, but they're the most, I guess you can say, pseudo-generic hand traps, being that they're pretty good against pretty much every deck, whereas cards like Ghost Ogre and Winter Cherries and Effect Veiler are great, but not every deck. They're not going to have the same impact on every deck. I don't want minimal marginal card economy or any minimal value. I want the card to be able to be powerful against any deck, and I want it to be impactful, being that by me resolving this card, I've actually done something to you versus just I Veiler your Kagari and you play another engage anyways. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So yeah, these are the hand traps that I chose. Great Fly can add Joel and Lockbird from your grave to your hand, which is really important. And Joel and Lockbird is really good this deck because this deck, if it's able to resolve its combo, it just ends up producing more than 8,000 damage. And Crystal Wing helps because if they're level monsters and they have high levels, you can just pretty much honest them. But yeah, this deck can OTK. People don't believe it, but it can. If you ask a Dragunity player, can Dragunities OTK? They'll say this: if you can resolve the combo, they can OTK. And then for our spells, we have triple Dragon Ravine and double Optimus Prime. One of the best spells to start off with, if not the best. I'd still play Divine Lance. I've always played Divine Lance ever since Dragunity's literally got this card. This card's amazing. If you look on Zephyr Divine Strike, this is the card that's on Zephyr Divine Strike. There's a lot of background story to these decks, and I'm actually a very big fan of the lore. I learned all of the lore. But yeah, Divine Lance is the equivalent of like a Sonatus, or it can turn any monster into like a pseudo Dux, which is really good as long as they're Dragunity. So yeah, Lance helps out a lot. We have double cards of consonants. Your Koos and your Phalanx are dragons. They have there are tuners, they're dragons, and they have 1,000 or less attack. And they belong in the grave. So that's a lot of good reasons and a lot of synergy with the card of consonants. You consonants any of those 6 targets who are also searchable. You draw 2. You basically get a +1 because they go into the grave where they're supposed to be. Like sometimes you'll draw Phalanx or Koos and no other way to get them into the grave. And this is another way to get them to the grave. Because if you can't get them into the grave, their best effects won't even be relevant. And then we have 2 Pot of Desires. Pretty much everything that's important is at 3. So you can get away with Desires at times, but sometimes it'll banish too many of your 1-of extenders because a lot of your extenders are 1-ofs. And then you'll be at that point where you're like, please don't hand trap me, because if you do, I have no follow-up because my extenders just got banished. So I couldn't search them out if I wanted to. But it's a necessary evil, say it that way. Pot of Desires is a necessary evil. It's really, really important to have a +1 because this deck doesn't have a card that just gets 2 cards, Not like a break-even, like Cards of Constance is a +1 in the sense that it gets a card where it belongs while simultaneously drawing 2, but in terms of sheer card economy, you still have 5 cards in your hand. But with Pot, you get 6, which is really important because you have discard for cost effects like Dragon's Ravine and the Symphonic engine. Those are discards for cost, so you have to basically take a -1 to resolve certain cards. So getting a +1 can allow you to just recuperate all the economy and all the advantage that you're losing through the duration of your combo. Then the 1-ofs, these are extenders, are Dragon Shrine, Foolish, Monster Reborn, and Soul Charge. These plus your Divine Lance are other extenders of the deck, as well as your field spell being a playmaker, combo extender, combo follow-up, and also it can be a recovery card. You have a lot of just a lot of good cards in this deck. This deck is pretty solid. I'd say I can't call it tier 3. I'd say tier 2.5 because of the boards that it can make. When it actually gets the boards popping. I would say tier 2.5 ish, not 3. The deck's a little bit better than that, and anybody that plays Dragunities and knows the deck and how it plays, they understand like that. It's a little bit stronger than the tier 3 deck. But don't get me wrong, it's pretty fragile. And that's why, as you can see, my deck is full of play extenders because I wanted to basically, how you say, circumvent for the weaknesses that the deck has. Starting with the extra deck, we have one Echelon. All you really need is one. This card's amazing. It's like the Thunder Dragon Lord, being that it can just pop cards and it's not once per turn, and you can just endlessly pop as many as you possibly can. And it has built-in protection. It's a 33, and then if it dies, it floats into another Dragunity Synchro, which is pretty broken. Then we have Basha. Just making this card allows you to go into Skull Dread. I'll read you guys Basha. Basha is retarded. It's retarded. When this card Synchro summons, select any number of Dragon-type Dragunity monsters in your grave, equip them to this card. This card gains 300 attack for each. You equip a couple of Phalanxes and a couple of Kuses. Boy, you're going to summon all of them. All you need to do is modify one other name, and you'll already have 4 different names for your Skull Dread. Or you can just go into like a Borload or, a Boral Sword if that's what you want to play in your extra deck. So yeah, Basha can just be, when you make it, it can just turn into a really, really big push. A big push. Basha's great as a one-of. And then we have double Vargiana. I really believe that this card should be at 3, but the problem is the extra deck space. And then the Guy Darsh, I understand why people play 1, but I actually am a big, huge advocate. Big, and huge and large. Grand advocate of 2 Guy Dirt. I believe that this card is so important that if you miss with it, you're going to need the second one. If anything happens to this card in the middle of your combo, you pretty much can't do it. And then also, if anything happens, you're going to need a second one for a follow-up. And also, if your board gets broken, which is pretty possible, it's not like you're making unbreakable boards. You're just making decent boards that can combat with particular decks in the meta, but not, I wouldn't say Sky Strikers, because they have more spells than they have monsters. You're going to need the second Guy Dirge as a recovery and a follow-up. So, from personal experience and not just philanthropy and, like just, how do you say, making up theories that aren't really true. Like the second Guy Dirge is so important. It's so important. Like you have to understand. You got to play 2. And then the same thing with double Crystal Wing. You're going to be making 2 pretty often. I don't recommend 3 because like while the third one can come up, it's taking up too much extra space when you could play other cards. And then I do play also the Siphon Lord Omega because he's just an amazing card, you guys. I mean, yeah, it's at 1, that's okay. But being able to just rip a card out of your opponent's hand and then pump out negates, because when you have like a Soul Charge, a Reborn, or like a Foolish, any of like a specific kind of extender, you can do Omega double Crystal Wing. And Omega double Crystal Wing plus like the Skull Dread is like pretty much the deck's best play. Like it can't get any better than that unless you want to do what I like to do sometimes. I like to do Omega Crystal Wing plus Griffin. And you just do Great Fly, Griffin, and you do the Crystal Wing and the Omega, which is really strong as well. But that's only when you draw a certain, like when you have a good hand. Well, not a good hand, when you have a great hand, which, don't get me wrong, you'll get great hands pretty often. It's not like the deck only gets great hands, once in a blue moon. But that's like one of my favorite boards. But, one of the standard basic boards that you're always going to do is a double Crystal Wing. And on your good days, you're going to be able to Omega first and then double Crystal Wing after. So, yeah, it's really important to still play the Omega. We have the Atum. He's solely here just to tutor out your Red Eyes Darkness Metal. There have been times when I've gone into this early combo instead of mid combo, just so I can get out my Darkness Metal so I can resolve a Desires because I'm running low on Steam, and I want to make sure that I can keep pushing and that I don't banish my Darkness Metal. Sometimes it's just greed. Sometimes it's like I want to draw 2, but I don't want to lose my Darkness Metal. So I'll go into this early combo. When you're doing your combo, there is a point when you're supposed to make it and a point where you can. I do it at the point when you can, not when you're supposed to, because I'm greedy sometimes. And then we have links. We have Great Fly. We have Underclock Taker. We have Unicorn for your utility. It's a really, really just solid generic link that every deck should play as a staple because this deck has trouble getting over cards that cannot be destroyed by card effects. And then we have Skull Dread and we have Griffin. You want to do Griffin like this, right? Or if you're not going to make any Crystal Wings, then you can do Griffin like this, which is, it's co-link, so you get the draw. And you can set any spell that you use, like Soul Charge or Reborn or anything like that. But most of the time, because I want my Crystal Wing to be freaking huge, I go Great Fly and then Griffin. And, I still have 3 extra monster zones open up, so if you have a soul charge, you know, that's going to be really, really strong. So yeah, that concludes the deck profile, you guys. I really, really hope that you enjoyed it. You guys, I put a lot of effort into this deck, a lot of time, a lot of practice, you guys. Really hope that you enjoyed it. I highly recommend that you just use my builds as a blueprint. If you want a net deck, that's fine, but I highly recommend originality over copy paste. But definitely just use this as a blueprint for your build if you're ever trying to play Dragunities. Because trust me, they're a really good deck when they're not only when they're piloted by the right person, but also just when they get to go off in general. Once you learn the combos, which they're pretty sophisticated sometimes, but once you learn the combos, then you kind of just, you know, the deck, it has free reign in a lot of different areas that most decks don't have free reign in, if that makes sense. But God bless you guys. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. Have a beautiful, wonderful day. I hope to see you guys soon. And also, I have a couple other surprises for you guys. So stay in your seats, but they're surprises, so I'm not going to spoil them. Peace.